Hello and welcome, PocketWatch here, and it's about time for the second episode of Planetarian. So yeah, let's just go to this and let's continue. I changed a bit the settings of the game, so the music is a bit more quiet and we can hear dialogue a bit better. I should probably also change the effects a bit more, so let me just do it now. Okay, and should be fine. So yeah, let's go, the episode. This was a sarcophagus city, a dead zone, abandoned by its inhabitants, after it was devastated by the bombardment of biochemical warheads, filled with the long half-life payloads during the early stages of the war. Yeah, so this is really, really bad. It was said that the direct causes of the war were global overpopulation and the failure of the space colonization project, combined with the total depletion of the natural resources. Not that it mattered any longer. The earth overflowed with foolish and selfish human beings back then, and the biggest fool among them pressed the buttons that caused their orbital satellites to fire their germ bomb warheads. Okay. I have no words. Their intent was probably to lie in wait until the bombardment was over, and then to quietly seize control of everything afterwards. Well, didn't work, huh? As usual, nothing works in war. War is fucking terrible. Stop war. Don't do this stuff. This is terrible. How? However, not a single person came back to re-inhabit those cities. All the inhabitants of the towns surrounding the germ bomb cities had been vaporized in thermonuclear warhead strikes. Holy shit. 1 year after the outbreak of the war, Earth's human population had been cut in half. The number was halved again by the end of the second year, and halved again and again every following year. How many of you are left? Oh my god. After the 10th year has passed, the countries that had begun the war no longer existed. But even then, the war did not end. People worked so hard to slaughter each other that even when there were no humans left to fight, they continued to airdrops autonomous battle mechs, collectively known as warmongers, in order to continue the bloodshed. What the hell? Okay, this is actually terrifying story. This is awful. Because the point of the war was no longer to conquest of land. It had become nothing other than the internecine creed of revenge and massacre. The world had become empty indeed, and people who had the leisure to do such things as count the population vanished from the face of the earth. The purpose of life became merely to live, and someone began to produce nothing other than man. The situation dragged on for over 20 long years. It was then when the rain began to fall. The rain continued to fall without regard for day or night, snatching away even the sunlight from this world and obliterating the seasons. It poisoned the soil and the water, withered the plants, cracked concrete, and turned steel into rusty garbage. Wow. This is like the worst rain ever. Even the act of man giving birth to man would now come to naught, or so it seemed. There was nothing left in this world but dirt immersed in poison and unspeakable ruin. Well, we need some good like planetarian stuff in this, because holy, for a junker like me, a sarcophagus city was a mountain of treasure. Oh, so he's not even a soldier. I mean, yeah, like they said, the war ended and stuff, right? It's just a matter of revenge and massacre at this point, so he's a junker. Okay. Now, 30 years after the outbreak of the war, The artificial bacteria, for which vaccines were never developed, had all but died off. Well, that one thing that's good, I guess. Even the vast sarcophagus dome that once enveloped the entirety of the city had been eroded away by the rain. Oh. That's why the bacteria died, because of the rain. Well, that's bad then. Because the rain is even worse than the bacteria. However, the fact that people continued to avoid this area had not changed. When the inhabitants were ordered to evacuate, they left behind all their possessions and equipment, all the way down to their pins and needles. Thus, one could find MREs, various medicines, fuel, batteries, precision tools, weapons and ammunition, and all sorts of arcane devices in more or less preserved state that could no longer be obtained these days in the unused air raid shelters in the destroyed military installations. And when one was very lucky indeed, one could find cases of pre-war distillator liquor and cigarettes. Yeah, I guess this would be like very valuable things in post-war. I mean, it's like I never understand why alcohol and cigarettes are like valuable. Like I just don't understand. Maybe that's why, because I don't really like smoke and I drink just like from like time to time, like casually. But I still don't get it. Like why, like in every game where it's like some kind of like dystopia or something, always alcohol and cigarettes are like important. I'm not sure why. Maybe they like let you like forget. Maybe they like people want to like forget about like what's happening, or like try to remind themselves of the good days, and that's why they like smoke and stuff. Maybe that's the thing. However, if you let your guard down for even a second, you'd quickly pay for trespassing many times over. This was guaranteed by the warmonger patrols, autonomous hedgehog, hunter killers, tanks, and light anti-personnel Mensengers drones. What language is that? Is it German? Can someone let me know in the comments? All of them still in the extermination mode, as well as the proximity mines that could be triggered even by opening doors. This is terrible. Not to mention the unstable floors, and scaffoldings that could crumble just by stepping on them. The uncharacterizable fevers that seems to arise from an injection with mutant bacteria. What? The hordes of hungry rats and other junkers who might be better armed. Yeah, that's why he was afraid in the beginning. The list went on and on. I remember the old junker telling me that once. That was very loud. I think I should actually keep background music a bit higher, and this as well. So I will level up a bit the voices together. Just slightly. Okay, should be fine. Actually, you know what? Now I look at the audio volumes, it's really quiet, right? So maybe I did the wrong thing. Okay, should be better now. I have sometimes problems with like audio in these games, you know? Because like, for me, this rain is really loud. And on the like recording and on like post-processing, it might be very like quiet actually. So I never know. Or you let me know in the comments. How's the audio? I remember an old junkie telling me that once, yeah. That the junker and I parted up some time ago and worked together for about a year. My partner, whose chatter was annoying but skill as junker couldn't be doubted, served the role of the scout and I the role of the enforcer. As we shared a drink of pre-war G&B that we had discovered together one day. My partner informed me about the existence of the few sarcophagus cities located along an unplundered strip of the east coast. And that's why you're here, huh? He told me about the abundant riches and untold dangers that lay therein.
封印都市で一番厄介なのはロボットに会っちまった時だ。
Oh! This guy met Hoshino, I think. So he told him the story about Planetarian. Ah! I pressed for more details, but my partner said nothing more on the matter. Instead, he repeated himself by saying, "Do not talk to it. It's not a thing that is of this world," with a grimace that further distorted his face, whose nose had already been badly disfigured by some shrapnel from the fragmentation grenade. Why you not want to talk to her? Wait, what? That's weird. I think my partner said a few other things, but I couldn't remember what they were anymore. Eventually that junker got ensnared by an obvious booby trap and died too. His final words were, "A can of sardines for my hometown, bringing back memories." Great, so the can of sardines being booby trapped. What the hell? Why? Just like, who's doing that? That's a crime. Holy shit. That's why I burned my erstwhile partner along with a can of the stuff after digging his grave. At the time, I wished that his last words had been a little less desolate and a little more stoic. Even now, I continued to wish that.
私はレンガ版の5000シリーズなので、頭部のインフォメーションリボンは特注オプションとなっています。
Back to Hoshino. Oh, she can like turn. Oh, she can change
こ
colors.
のように色およびパターンを変化させることができます。
Okay, that's cool. That was good. Like it.
私の勤続10年を記念して、館長さんとスタッフの皆さんからお送りいただいたものです。
I think I can give soundtrack actually as it used to be on the maximum level. Just the background effects I will make like lower, like rain and stuff. I think music is on the fine level actually. It's around the same as the dialogue. The most irritating thing in this entire sarcophagus city showed off her functions to me with exhaustive courtesy.
標準オプションとしましては、カード印刷機能とホログラフィック録画再生機能がイヤレシーバーに搭載されています。
Okay. Do you have some recordings you want to show us, maybe? That was nothing more or less than a bad
カード
joke.
印刷機能では、当館のプログラムと今月の天文現象案内、当デパートの催事案内、それに周辺地図、各種割引券などをご用意できます。
Discount coupons. Okay, give me a discount coupon. She produced a card from the slot on her left ear, like it was a magic trick. Nice.
どうぞ。当館のプログラムです。
I took the proffered card, opened it, and took a glance. It was an antique made of ink and paper from 30 years ago. The small letters were so severely blurred that I could barely read them, and even the right margins were completely illegible. At the floorcast rooftop planetarium this month, Planetarian Project, the Autumn Stars and Constellations, yes, special feature, the revier of mankind spreading something. Note, we're expecting our 2,500,000 customer today, I guess.
遠慮なくお受け取りください。
Yeah, of course it's free, like money literally don't exist anymore. I decided to ignore her instead. Smiling the entire time, she cheerfully looked as my fingers crumpled the card into the web.
では次に、ホログラフィック録画再生機能をお見せします。
Okay.
お客様、当館にお越しになった記念にぜひ一言どうぞ。
I let aside as I was comforted by this undoing monologue. I had lost my gloves. My skin had been exposed to the open air for several days. My hands up to my wrists itched as they were pierced by needles, thanks to the fact that I had been out in the rain for so long. Okay, so it's not like melting you instantly, it's just like really bad for your health. But yeah, it's just like really like prolonged exposure that's like rotting the stuff. But yeah. There was a single cigarette left in the waterproof case in my breast pocket. It was the last of the pack. I had bartended 2 dozen cluster fuel cells. What? For one of the cigarette packs you gave like fuel? Are you serious? Wow. Fuel cells for at a trading post half a year ago. You have one pack for half a year. Wow. As soon as I took the case out, I was struck by the terrible feeling. The front clasp was undone and rusty brown drops of water were leaking out. Aww, you cannot smoke it now because it got contacted with rain, so you do not want to inhale this thing. I involuntarily buried my head in my hands. And just like that, I looked up the ceiling. Today's work had been a complete waste from the very outset. First, I fought with the 3 other junkers over the right to use only safe way into this god-forsaken place. Although I somehow managed to win, I used up half of my already meager supply of ammunition doing so. Then, after breaking through the quarantine wall, I ran into the entire platoon of Menschenjäger. I cannot read that, I'm sorry. I think it's German, and I'm really bad at German, I'm sorry. I just cannot read this. Menschenjägers. Thanks to them, I ended up creeping, twisting and turning inside a maze of rubble and mud for a half a day. By the time I had caused 3 of them to run around and incapacitated the 4th, I had no more ammunition for my PDW, only 3 cartridges left for my grenade launcher, and I had totally lost my case of rations. As I surveyed the state of the city, my disappointment soared. The stores and the air raid shelters along the quarantine wall had already been broken into. There was nothing of value to be found in these places any longer. Well, it sounds to me like you need a break, you know? So why not just relax here and Hoshino will just play for you nice movie on the sky, huh? Sounds like a good idea to me. To like take a bit break from like the life that's like outside. I should have been looking to escape right around at that point. But instead I proceed deeper in, beyond the grey curtain of rain. An old and somehow familiar looking skyscraper stood direct against the wind like some sort of magical tower. Using that building as a landmark, I penetrated into the very heart of the city. I still had some obstinacy in me, and some impatience as well. I just thought about this, that I can actually... Well, it depends how Kay and this music will react on YouTube. But maybe I can like stream this game on like members? Huh. While recording? I will see. Because it's short. But things like that were not what drove me forward. I was probably just sick and tired of everything. Of these miniature garden-like ruins, with no one in them, of the rain that never stopped falling, of this ashen world that had been stripped of its natural order by the machinations of mankind. Wow. Machinations. So we have nations of the machines at this point.